Hello, everyone. A mythical sounding copy of Led Zeppelin II, the so called Bob Ludwig pressing. I'm going to tell you all about it and I'm going to ask the question: is the myth worthwhile? Welcome to another Top 5 Records video, and today I'm going to be talking about Led Zeppelin II, the Bob Ludwig. Now, I'm holding it here after years and years and years of searching. I finally got myself a so-called Bob Ludwig mastering of this record. For everyone who is not aware of the story of the Bob Ludwig mastering, I'll tell you in a bit, but just to get an idea of how valuable this is. Until holding this copy, I found one copy. At the record fair in Den Bosch, an American salesman sold one copy for about, I believe it was $500 or $600. Now, these prices are a little bit high everywhere, but even in the United States, a copy for this album, if you want it in Fiji state, you can even pay about $1,000. Sometimes you're lucky $200 or $300, but this is a one of the big holy grails. So I'm so happy holding one of the holy grails now in my hands. Why is it a holy grail? Well, the thing is, this record has a story. When Led Zeppelin II was released in the United States, they wanted it to sound spectacular, and this is the way the engineer and mixer Eddie Kramer told this story in a podcast. He said basically the manager of Led Zeppelin was kind of a, how do I say this adequately? I can't. Well, he had ties to the underworld. Some people suggest that. Um, he was a very rough figure. Let's keep it at that. He was a very rough figure. Now, Eddie Kramer and Robert Ludwig went into the mastering with the manager, and they wanted this album to sound spectacular, to challenge all boundaries. So, what did Robert Ludwig, one of the best, perhaps in those days, the best mastering engineer of that day, what did they do? They made a mix that had a challenging dynamic, a lot of presence, and the dynamics of that pressing was so incredible that it would risk cheap needles jumping out. Now, how did they get this in the world? Well, the manager of Led Zeppelin went to a couple of American pressing plants and he put pressure on them to push or to press this specific mastering. And not only that, back in the day, you had three different kinds of quality of vinyl. The cheapest one was used for rock records because it was contemporary stuff. That's what they said. The middle section was used for jazz because jazz lovers had a better ear, and the best, that's what they say, and the best stuff was used for classical music because they were the most sophisticated ears, so called. They put pressure on these pressing plants to get the Bob Ludwig pressing on the best quality vinyl. Now it was pressed and it was released until the daughter of Atlantic Records took her copy of this record to school and they had a cheap record player there and the needle skipped out. When the director of Atlantic Records heard that, he was so mad and ordered to replace the pressings of this album with a thin, flat, bad record player proof copy. So the beautiful dynamic mix went away. Now, the amount of copies is limited. I've heard from people that once every so often you may find one in the United States. In Europe, I have been looking for years and years. And the only thing that we so-called get is I wanted the wrong copy, is this German pressing that does have RL, Bob Ludwig in the stampers, but it sounds so thin. And it sounds, side one has the RL, side two doesn't have it, but side one sounds significantly better than side two, yet it is not as powerful as, for example, a first UK Red Plum. So before I put on the Bob Ludwig pressing today, I put on the Red Plum, the first UK Red Plum, and this is a full, warm, energetic mix. It has power in its grooves. So although I was so happy to put on the Bob Ludwig one, um, I thought, come on, the first UK is so good. How is this gonna improve? Now, I put it on, and this is indeed something that is not only uncommon for any Led Zeppelin record or any Led Zeppelin II record, it's for uncommon for any record of the day. We are listening here to a copy with so much dynamic range. I've been putting a decibel meter on my phone, and I mean, the difference is going to be like 20, 25 decibel, starting with 80 decibel. It can easily switch to 100 and back and forth. There's so much dynamic range here, which is, of course, problematic for cheap record players, but who has cheap record players anymore? Also, um, the detail in the voice is slightly better here. The detail in the guitar, I mean, the guitar is right in your face. The distortion is beautiful, but the more delicate guitar parts, you can hear the details, which is stunning, mostly stunning here, and so unexceptional, so exceptional for the sound of records in those days is the presence of the bass and the drums. I mean, the bass so full, edgy. It is like, it's rare the way the bass is there, and it's not boosted. It's not a boosted bass. No, it is a full detailed bass that's doing its job there. It's makes so much sense when you hear it on this pressing, and also the highs. I mean, the drums here. There are drum solos. There are drum fill-ins. There are drum moments that are just insanely beautifully present here. The amount of detail in the high, in the low, is just staggering. Staggering. I mean, it's an expensive record, but I do understand why. And it's just a thrill to listen to this dynamic and the quality. It's a stunning copy. I've heard so much more detail. The record makes so much more sense, and I might even this might even become my favorite Led Zeppelin album, because this Bob Ludwig mastering, it is just a thrill to experience. I was really skeptical. I thought there are so many good red plums out there. First UKs, at least in the Netherlands, you can find them. In London, they are easier to find. And I mean, it's a British band, British first pressing. Yet, it's it's no competition for this. This is an audiophile masterpiece. I think this might even be one of the best sounding records in my collection. It's also so smooth. I mean, they play rough. There are rough sounds there, but the overall quality is so incredibly smooth and detailed. And man, it's a treasure. So, is the myth true? Yes. Now, if you want to find one, it's definitely a lot easier when you live in the US. Look into that wax. There should be an R and L there. Might be tough to see because it can be very small, and sometimes, in some cases, there's also an S and another S because it was mastered at Sterling Sound, I believe. Um, I'm not sure about that last thing. Anyway, the R and the L there, and you'll be so incredibly happy. But make sure it's an American copy, because here in the Netherlands, people can charge big prices for these German ones because they have the R and the L in there. It's not the same. The German pressing with the RNL, it's no competition for this staggering beauty. So I'm curious. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Leave a comment below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.